Meanwhile, the NATO leaders have convened for a virtual summit to discuss the future course of action against Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The member states are arming up at the borders of the European countries on the Eastern Front.
We have warned against for months has come to pass, despite all our efforts to find a diplomatic solution. Moscow bears sole responsibility for the deliberate, cold-blooded and long-planned invasion. We condemn Russia's aggressions in the strongest possible terms and call on Russia to immediately cease its military action. We stand with the brave people of Ukraine. We fully support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, its right of self-defense and its right to choose its own path.
NATO has vowed to defend every inch of NATO territory, and the United States has also announced the deployment of an additional 7,000 troops to Germany to defend and reassure the NATO military allies. But in the face of an invasion into Ukraine, Biden has again repeated that the American forces will not engage in a conflict with Russia in and over Ukraine.
And now I'm authorizing additional U.S. force capabilities to deploy to Germany as part of NATO's response, including some of the U.S.-based forces that the Department of Defense placed on standby weeks ago. Let me say it again. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East.
Now, 2 American F-35 fighter jets have landed at the Borsia Air Base in Romania as part of NATO's further bolstering of its eastern flank. The trucks carrying the American military vehicles have arrived at the military base near Constanta, a city at the Black Sea. Germany, meanwhile, has deployed almost about 3 more Eurofighter jets to Romania to support NATO's air policing mission, while Berlin has deployed almost about 1,000 troops in Lithuania as part of a German-led NATO combat unit and is taking part in NATO's air policing in Romania. Drone footage shows British troops arriving in Estonia. The British Army was seen transporting tanks and other military equipment into Estonia as part of NATO's mission. NATO has ordered its military commanders to intensify their preparations to defend Allied territories, putting hundreds of warplanes and ships on alert and also agreeing to increase troop numbers on its eastern flank. Interestingly, Italy has also announced a supply of additional 3,400 military personnel to support NATO's efforts. And France, interestingly, is yet to decide on its part of the armed contribution to the NATO military alliance.
La nostra priorità oggi deve essere rafforzare la sicurezza del nostro continente e applicare la massima pressione sulla Russia perché ritiri le truppe et ritorni al tavolo dei negoziati.
Nous avons livré des équipements militaires et nous sommes toujours en train d'étudier les demandes qui viennent de nous être faites et nous allons statuer très rapidement.
Meanwhile, Western allies have raised an alarm over the issue of what Russia's intentions are in Ukraine. Nations are saying that Moscow is in fact targeting the Ukrainian government. And the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has told reporters in the United States that America is convinced that Russia is seeking to overthrow the democratically elected government in Ukraine. Blinken predicts that Ukrainians will, of course, strongly resist Putin's efforts to usurp their sovereignty.
Part of the Russian plan has been to put Kyiv in danger, to assault the capital, to go after other major cities. We're seeing forces come in from the north, from the east, from the south, and that's all part of the plan that we've laid out for the world in recent weeks. One of the things that Vladimir Putin has done, starting back in 2014 when they first went into Ukraine, seizing Crimea, seizing a part of eastern Ukraine, is to totally alienate the Ukrainian people from Russia. Before 2014, actually, Russia was pretty popular in Ukraine. It had a 70% favorability rating. Right now, it's exactly the opposite, more than the opposite. 90% of Ukrainians now, if I can use the word, detest Russia and certainly detest President Putin. My prediction would be that one way or another, they will strongly resist any effort to take away their sovereignty, take away their independence, take away their government.
Meanwhile, British Defence Minister Ben Wallace has confirmed that the United Kingdom views that Russia intends to invade the whole of Ukraine and that Russia has not taken any of its major objectives. Wallace also estimated that Russia has lost more than 450 defence personnel so far in the fighting.
It's definitely our view that the Russians intend to invade the whole of Ukraine. The nonsense they were spouting about the Donbass, and it were, as ever, with a whole series of dishonest claims, are not the case, and that's why you've seen a number of columns of Russian army entering the city from the south, from the north, from Belarus even, and indeed from the separatist region. Our assessment as of this morning is that Russia has not taken any of its major objectives. In fact, it is behind its hoped-for timetable. They've lost over 450 personnel.
And also, French Foreign Minister Jean Le Drian has accused Russia's President Vladimir Putin of trying to destroy Ukraine's statehood. France has also warned that the security of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is actually at risk. France has said that the EU wants to dry up Russia's finances and cut all links between Moscow and all global financial systems.
Nous allons mettre en œuvre aujourd'hui, nous, ministres des Finances, ces sanctions massives et immédiates contre la Russie. Ces sanctions vont frapper durement la Russie. Elles vont frapper durement l'économie russe. Et notre objectif est de faire plier l'économie russe. Cela prendra le temps nécessaire. Nous sommes totalement déterminés. Nous continuerons le temps nécessaire pour faire plier l'économie russe et plier les responsables politiques et économiques de la Russie.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.